The unstable one. I started suspecting my wife was involved with someone else. I have been married 8 years with 2 kids, boy 5 and girl 3. About 6 weeks ago I got the old "I feel funny around you." Well, that started everything. I didn't suspect an affair until I read the posts here, and here symptoms were dead on. You guys were right. I made the discovery while listening into my WW phone conversation with her girlfriend, who happens to be separated. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The girlfriend was encouraging her to separate and look after yourself. It sounds like a Ia with a guy at her work. They have gone out to dinner a few times and he bought my WW something. Well, last night I exposed just like I was supposed to. She seemed shocked and didn't say much for a few minutes. Then she said they were only friends and asked how I found out, since she could explain everything. I did not divulge my source. Well, we slept in the same bed, but she slept in a more friendly position than usual. But nothing has been said since. This morning I said goodbye and got no reply. I also heard her say in her conversation that she feels smothered by me and her friend was encouraging her to get it over with. So now I am wondering what I should do to help her feel unbothered. Should I expose the other man? Should I tell the girlfriend to butt out? The other man is in a separation process. I think this is happening because of neglect on my part for several years. I am trying to fix that, but I hope it is not too late. She is very cold with me now, so it is hard to talk to her. We were much closer in years past, but have kind of settled for the routine after the kids. I'd heard her say to her friend that they just talk and OM is wonderful. For her to end contact with the other man, she will have to quit her job. That will be a difficult decision. I think she may be willing to work on the marriage once she gets out of the fog. Is it okay to bring up the relationship so soon after exposure, or should I wait a few days? I'm not sure how to talk to her right now. I tell her that I need to be married to one person exclusively. She may say you are and we are just friends. Or she may say I don't want to be married anymore. I will have to come up with replies to those responses. I don't think she will cut contact right now, so I need to be prepared for that. I'm really confused right now. How should I deal with her separated girlfriend that is giving her the bad advice? I had a bad feeling about her from the beginning. I checked the phone book with no listings for OM. Since they are co-workers, should I consider exposing at work? Well, last night I took the power and control back and I feel great. Thanks to all the vets on this board who have been giving excellent advice. I don't know what I would be doing if this site wasn't available. Well, I get home from work last night and say hi to my WW without any reply. So, she is still not talking to me. We go through the evening doing some of the usual stuff and then put the kids down. As we both settle down into the fun stuff begins. BS, do you want to discuss why you are mad at me? WW, I'm not talking until you tell me where you are getting your information from. BS, that's not important. What's important is that we both know it is true. WW, okay then. BS, you know, isn't funny how you are upset with me even though it was I that was lied to, deceived, and betrayed. I feel like someone ripped out my beating heart and threw it away, leaving behind an empty shell. This is the worst feeling I have ever felt and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. This is like I'm having a nightmare. In spite of all this, I still love you very much and want our marriage to work. I will never stop fighting for that. WW, silence. Now I start to be a man and set down my boundaries. Yes, I want this marriage to work, therefore I can't accept any contact between you and the other man. That is the only way we can get through this and make things right again. Also, I will not accept any call to this house from your girlfriend. She is separated and condoning my wife to leave me and do stuff for herself. She is evil and my blood boils when I think of her. WW, you can't tell me who my friend is. Oh, I got a reaction. Yes, I'm not telling you who your friends can be. I just don't want her calling this house anymore and undermining our marriage and family. Whenever she calls, you spend excessive time talking secretively. I know you are talking about the other man and disrespecting me and my family. I will not accept that anymore. I will not be a doormat. WW, I don't think this is going to work. I refused to respond to that comment and several moments later ended it with, yes, I want this marriage to work and I will never stop fighting for you, us and our family. I had a great night's sleep for the first time in a very long time. I felt in control for the first time in a very long time. I could tell my WW was flustered. This morning I wake up and see my wife looking at me, which she normally doesn't do. This is what transpires. WW, so, you want to hear me say something? Say something. WW, you want to hear me say that I will no longer see the other man. That is the only way this marriage is going to work. WW, first you need to tell me your source. She's trying to negotiate, but now I know you can't negotiate with bad guys, as one of the vets here have said. So, I think about it for a while and tell her that I overheard her conversation with her girlfriend. I actually recorded the conversation, but I felt I had to give something. Probably a mistake on my part. WW, okay, I will only work with him and not go to dinner. No contact means absolutely no contact, nothing. WW, do you want me to quit my job? That is what it is going to take to save our marriage and make things right again. WW, I will consider it. I can tell those little wheels in her head are spinning fast. What are you thinking? WW, with tears flowing down her face, I'm thinking what happens if I quit my job and our marriage doesn't work out and I can't support myself. You accuse me of all these things when I was only having dinner with him. She then gets out of bed and goes to the bathroom. Later she comes out and I speak. WW, we are just good friends, that's it. Now I wanted her to know that I still know a lot more that I wasn't revealing to her. I know it is more than just good friends and you know it too. What did you do Monday night when you came home late from work? WW, I told you I was working late. That's all. WW, yes. What did you do after work? Went to dinner with my friends from work. You know they were going to buy me dinner. Which friends? WW, me and other man and girlfriend was supposed to come but she couldn't make it. Why didn't you tell me about this? WW, it was just dinner. Do you consider it appropriate for a married woman to do this? WW, I don't see anything wrong. You and I know it wasn't just a platonic dinner. WW, how do you know? I just know. WW goes to the bathroom again and a little I enter to take a shower. It ends this way. You know I want this marriage to work and I will keep fighting to make it that way. Why are you so mad at me? WW, I'm not mad at you, it's me I can't think right now, crying. That is how it ends. Well, how the roles have changed over the last few days. Prior to yesterday, I was on pins and needles and nervous. Now I have taken some control back and I feel better. I think the end she is missing is intimate conversation, affection. I can't give that to her right now since she has formed this wall. How do I break through? My WW actually works in the HR department for a large company, and the other man is a manager. Sounds like a code of conduct issue to me. I wrote her a heartfelt letter last weekend describing all of my mistakes and taking responsibility for the situation she is currently in. Before I gave it to her, at bedtime, she asked if it would make her sad. I replied I'm not sure. She read it and said thanks for the letter. It didn't seem to have an effect on her so I asked for it back. She refused to give it back to me. The next morning, she said she loved me and asked to hold my hand, adding that she needs time to get through this. She also asked me to hold her hand this morning after we had that lengthy and sad discussion yesterday. I'm not sure why she is asking to hold my hand after these instances. Is it she feels guilty or truly feels closer to me? I probably have more to lose by just giving her space than continuing with the ends. I'll just try to keep them modest for now. The other night when I was laying down my boundaries, she said if you don't like it you can leave. I replied I don't quit on my marriage or family. She didn't reply. Last night when she said she needed space, I asked if she would like me to sleep in a separate bed. I knew I put my foot in my mouth right after I said it. Fortunately, she said no. She said she started having these feelings of uncertainty soon after my daughter's birth, about 3 years ago. The clues were there, I just ignored them and now I am kicking myself for that. One other thing, the other man has just been promoted and there is a party for him on Friday night. My wife told me about this and I replied, you want to go? Yes. She said yes, so all I said was that I can't control her decisions. What is the best approach? Obviously, I don't want her to go, but I also don't want to make selfish demands of her right now. First, I contacted her company's corporate compliance department, thanks to the help of Brit's brat, and launched a complaint of my WW and other man. I figure they will start investigating tomorrow or Wednesday. Next, I exposed my WW through an email to the company VP, who I met at her Christmas party. He called me right away and was shocked at what he read. I told him what I knew and he said, now that you mention this, I do remember them driving together in the same car one morning. After that incident, he sat down with the other man and let him know that shouldn't happen since their business relationship should be at arm's length. He informed me he will talk with the other man and let me know what happens. Finally, this evening I exposed my WW to my in-laws. It was almost like an intervention. My mother-in-law, father and bro all came over and let her have it. I had to calm them down a little. It was like a blitz and she was shell-shocked. All she said was, you can't tell me what to do. What the hell did you tell them and are you happy now? I felt like saying yes, I am happy now, but instead I said that this was the only way to fix our marriage and that I loved her. She didn't want to hear that, of course. Instead, she did the silent treatment, but when she looked at me, I could see the viper coming out as some had suggested. It wasn't pretty. I was really happy that my in-laws supported me the way they did. My father-in-law said if you break up this family you are no longer welcome in my home. My mother-in-law gave a verbal assault and my bro-in-law said, how could you do this? He is like a brother to me and that if it was him, he would have thrown her to the curb. I really had great support and that may help me if I need plan B. They all insisted that she quit her job immediately. She refused, of course. So now she is sleeping in my son's B and I have our bed all to myself tonight. She is also really good at the silent treatment, so I expect that to last a long time. I really would like some advice on how best to proceed now. Should I do my own thing for a while or try to talk to her? Somehow, I don't think she will want to talk for a long while. Wait till she finds out her company is investigating her with the OM. She is going to hate me. Her selfishness really came out tonight. Not even an ounce of remorse. Hopefully this will create some confusion now and start her thinking. So now she is exposed. What next? Well, after having the first good night's sleep in a long time last night, alone, my wife came to our bedroom, got dressed and asked if I was awake. She then started drilling me with questions like, "What did you tell them?" I replied, "I just told them what I know and the truth." I didn't say another word, but she continued, "I told you what happened and this is what you do. I said I needed time and this is what you do. Did you hear what my mother called me? How could you alienate my family from me?" There was probably another half dozen or so, but I refused to listen to the babble. After she say I wasn't interested in talking, she started sobbing and left. The support that I am receiving from my in-laws is tremendous. I was touched when my bro, almost in tears, confronted my WW last night and asked her, "How could you do this? He is like a brother to me." My 1049 is one very strong and truthful woman. She doesn't hide from conflict or the truth. She believes in right and wrong regardless of who you are, including her daughter. I have a great deal of respect for her family. I hope she does too and can eventually see that we are doing this because we love her very much. I made the analogy of a child to my mom-in-law. If your child is straying into darkness, you don't let them find their way because they can't see. Instead, you guide them back into the light. That's how I'm approaching this with my WW. Also, I can't help but feel that exposure, especially this intense, is a major LB. My WW seems so hurt and angry at everyone, especially me. I told her that I'm doing this because I love her and want our marriage to work. I hope she eventually sees that once the fog clears. Now that my WWZ has been exposed, I'm not really sure on how to proceed. C wasn't remorseful at all and doesn't seem inclined to quit her job and end all contact with OM. She won't even admit there is anything wrong with her relationship with OM. Well, I just exposed my WWE to my parents, who were both extremely shocked. They never thought my WW was capable of this, neither did I, so it seems the world is now starting to cave in around her and it will be interesting to see how she reacts and holds up. I will just let this unfold for a while and stick to plan A. I really feel the only way this can work is if she quits her job. I hope all the exposure and pressure she is now feeling will expedite the process. This is going to get a whole lot darker before it gets any lighter. She keeps asking me, "What do you know?" and refuses to admit there is anything wrong with her involvement with other man. All I have told her so far is that I have discovered things that tell me you are involved with the other man. Dinner alone and driving alone to work together. She won't admit to there being any affair. My recorded conversation of her and her girlfriend was more revealing. She described her dinner with him as just talked and talked. "He's wonderful and he got me something, but I can't say since my husband may be listening." That was all I needed to confirm the EA, but haven't given her these details since it would uncover my snooping source, phone recordings. How can I get her to admit to this EA? Update. Well, last night my wife came home and seemed very sad, depressed. I convinced her to come for a bike ride with the kids. You could tell this is wearing her down. This morning she asked me if I reported her to her work and I admitted that I did. She said she feels like I am trying to force her hand and that she feels hate towards me now. I replied that I did it because I love her and it is the only way to save the marriage. She did go for that. She said she feels very weak and doesn't know where to go. She is still upset that I alienated her from her family, but again I explained that I did it to help me save my marriage. She feels I did it to get her to leave. She then said if I was having an affair, do you think by forcing me to leave my job that I would stop? I didn't reply since she was starting to get upset now. She keeps minimizing the relationship with the other man, swearing nothing happened between her and the other man. I told her that I'm not doubting that anything physical happened, but it's the emotional connection that concerns me based on the things I know. She always gets upset when I say that, because C says that she told me everything that happened. Maybe, but only after I had to press her about it. Honestly, I am having some doubts about this exposure, since she is starting to make me feel bad. She really seems hurt right now and she really thinks I'm doing this to hurt her and control her. Well, my WW was interviewed at work regarding my complaint through the code of conduct. She says it was malicious on my part and doesn't think she will ever get over it. In fact, she thinks we now should see AMC. I told her that it was hard for me to do but was the only way to stop this affair. So now what do I do? She is sleeping in another bed. I feel really awful tonight and just wish this could all end soon. I believe her when she says she won't get over it because she has a long memory. Not looking good right now. I remember one of the vets saying the days and weeks after exposure is some of the most trying time in your life. They were not kidding. I know it is for the best, but I can't help feel like I have really hurt my WW. This is where maintaining a good plan is really difficult since she is angry, resentful, and sad. She is really good at making me feel like crap. The funny thing is when we were talking about this exposure and I told her that I had to do it to save the marriage, she said there were other ways of doing it. I replied like how, however she refused to reply. Now, is she admitting to the EA with the above remark or just saying that I could have used another approach to get her attention? I find that remark very interesting. Well, woke up this morning after another night of sleeping alone, even though it is still in our bed and WW had decided to sleep with my son. Something came to my mind this morning about something she said to me last night. Previously, when I used to ask her what was wrong or what I could do to make things better, she would say it's not you, it's me. But yesterday, after she found out I exposed her to her work, she said it's always about you, isn't it? Just like the time you left me sitting at the dinner table at that wedding. Also, my mom grilled her again this morning saying I don't like what is going on. My WW replied there are lots of things I don't like around here either. So now I am starting to see the resentment she has built up over all this time. This morning she also looked at me with viper eyes and said this is all your fault. The hatred is running deep right now. I'm not getting worked up over any of this, just letting her spew. Should I be returning fire right now or just laying low? Now that I am going through all this turmoil, I can see why it is so difficult to implement plan. It goes against every natural instinct, which is to fight back and place blame on the WW. I have not once yelled at my WW since this all started, although I heard her say to her friend that we just had another scrap. I was just calmly stating my feelings, but she interpreted this as a fight. I keep telling her that I'm doing this because I love her and that I want to save our marriage, but she can't see that right now and says I'm doing it to get her to leave. However, if I really wanted her to leave, I would go nuts and kick her out of the house. That tells me her judgment is not where it normally is right now. Currently, she feels everybody is against her, including me, the family, and even work, so she feels alienated and is fighting back. I think my MIL wants to talk to her tonight, but she probably won't have anything to do with it. We are going away this weekend, but when I asked her if she still wants to go, she said she is only going for the kids, and if it were for us, there would be no way of her going. That made me feel awful, but I am trying to understand it as fog talk. Prior to exposure, she would shower and dress well, almost sexy for work, leave early and come home late. Whereas now she hasn't showered for 3 days, dressed more conservatively, and is leaving and coming home at a more reasonable time. Why is she doing this? I don't know. Believe it or not, I feel better when I am around her right now, even though she is in a foul mood, rather than being alone at work. I think about this constantly. My work is definitely being affected, and I think I will tell my manager about the situation so he can understand better. Regardless of what happens, I never want to experience this again. This is definitely the worst time of my life. My WW is so good at denying, making excuses, and being angry at me that I sometimes feel like there really isn't an IA happening. But all I have to do is listen to the tape to reaffirm my suspicions. Do any other BS get this feeling? It is almost like she is so convinced that nothing happened that I start to believe it sometimes and question my exposure plan. Well, it doesn't seem as though she is going to quit her job. In fact, she is more resolute than ever to keep it. I was hoping all the pressure from everyone would help convince her to quit her job, but it hasn't worked so far. In order for her to go into withdrawal and hopefully recovery, I need her to stop contact with other men, and the only way is by quitting her job. For those who have exposed, how long the anger from the WW lasts? I get a feeling that it will be there a very long time, and that is going to be difficult to deal with. Well, yesterday evening she was as cold as ice again, even refusing to let me put her dishes in the dishwasher. I asked the kids if they wanted to go to the park and told my WW she was welcome to come. She came along. However, we did not talk or sit on the same park bench. I just had a good time with my kids, playing in the sand and chasing after them. My WW called her girlfriend last night to find out what happened with the OM's work investigation into the IA. Well, it looks like the other man was a little defensive in the interrogation since the investigators were making accusation and grilling him with questions. I also found out that my WW may have played golf with the other man. The best part is that the other man is extremely pissed at me and may take action if he loses his job. The best part is that he is also a little upset with my WW for what is happening. Maybe she didn't do quite a good enough job of concealing this EA. The other man told my WW to fight this, so that is what I am expecting from her. I know what I know, and that will never change. Based on what I heard, it doesn't seem to be a PA, but there was definitely the start of an EA. I don't think she feels there was anything wrong with that, but I need to be clear that it wasn't as unacceptable. I don't want my in-laws to feel like there is nothing going on when really it looks to be an EA. I want to play the tape for my mom-in-law and let her hear the truth, because right now she thinks it may be just stress from my WW work that is causing her to feel this way. In hindsight, I should have gathered more evidence before I exposed, but I didn't want to wait too long and the EA becoming a PA. Update. Well, I came home from work in a pleasant mood and said hi to my kids. My WW was on the phone, probably her girlfriend, and once she got off asked me to light the BBQ. During dinner I asked if she would like me to pick up some supplies for a trip to the beach this weekend. Surprisingly, she replied in a calm and friendly voice. After dinner I cleaned up and said thanks for dinner. No reply on her part. I tidied up the kids' mess and vacuumed the house. I noticed her also cleaning up the backyard and around the house as well. I took the kids shopping to pick up some items and bought her a coffee. She loves coffee, and left it for her on the kitchen counter. Well, she couldn't resist and helped herself to it. No thanks, of course. I have a strange feeling she may decide to sleep in our bed tonight. If she does, I won't make an issue out of it, but it will definitely make my day. It's funny, after all that I have been putting up with the last few weeks, she is upset with me for exposing her EA, which she will not admit to, of course. I think she is somewhat confused given the fact that I am in extreme giver mode so soon after her exposure. I know deep down she feels some guilt and although has denied any EA, knows that it was wrong to keep secrets from me. She gave a couple of her size this evening, which usually indicates she is stressed about something. The size are much less than they were before the exposure. I'm not quite sure what that means. I have to resist the urge to cave into her right now. I will do my thing and show her what she will be missing. I did commit one small LB tonight, when I threw out her coffee before she had finished it. This will be a major plan a weekend. Weekend update. So as a family we went to the beach for the weekend and had a pretty good time. The kids had a great time and my WW and I had some small talk and the occasional laugh and giggle about some of the things the kids were doing. I was in a good mood the whole weekend and tried not to LB. She still seems angry at me, but it's not as bad as the days immediately following exposure. I don't think I could have been a better husband or father than this past weekend. I am starting to feel comfortable living with this new and improved attitude. There was no relationship talk at all and I don't expect there to be for a while yet. We are kind of in lockdown mode. Neither of us will give in right now, although I am being very nice to her, while she is trying to maintain the anger. I must break her. And guess what? I just came from my bedroom where I noticed someone sleeping. That must be a great sign. Either she is uncomfortable in my son's queen-size bed, or she has decided to return to our bed out of her own will. This is great news. I also had a conversation with my mom and bro who kind of insinuated that I may be just overreacting with this situation after my WW firmly denied anything. Well, I just let my bro listen to the tape and that ended his speculation pretty quickly. I hate listening to that tape. He recommended getting MC to help save the marriage, but I think there needs to be a NC in place first, which looks like it could be difficult. What do I do? I want to go to MC, but if she doesn't agree to NC, is it a waste of time? One other funny note. On the way to the beach, my son was asking how much we loved him, because I always tell my kids that I love them to infinity and beyond, aka Toy Story. Well, doesn't my son ask my WW mom, how much do you love dad? She replies somewhat unenthusiastically, I love him very much. I was happy to hear that, but I don't know how much it means coming from her right now. Anyway, she is working from home this week and taking holidays the week after, so she won't be in direct contact with other man. However, she will be talking to her evil friend, of course, who will tell her all about the other man's day. This is a strange time right now. I'm not sure when, or if, to bring up the R and possibly talk about MC. All in all, a good weekend. Well, it was good to have her sleep back in our bed last night, even though my DD was snuck in between us. I don't know what she is feeling right now. She is distant most of the time, doesn't respond when I say good morning or goodbye, and we don't have any conversation that goes beyond the kids or small talk. However, we do laugh at certain things and I can see is stressed and confused. I want to let her know that I understand why we are in this situation, because of my neglect, and that I want to fix our marriage and family. I just don't know what type of reaction I will get. I still remember her telling her friend she felt smothered and controlled. Well, that is the last thing I want her to feel right now. I believe she was feeling that way because of her EA with the OM. I would like to open up the lines of communication with her, but will probably need to continue planning for a little while longer in order to make her more receptive to me. This is going to be a long road ahead. Well, I just called home to see what my WW and kids were doing. She informed me that she was writing me a letter. I have no idea what to expect in this letter, so I am kind of anxious. She also asked me if I received a response from her workplace regarding the complaint that I issued. I like to think of it as exposure and not a complaint. I really hope there is something in this letter that gives us a foundation to start our recovery. I miss her so much and every day is killing me a little more. Update. Many people have mentioned that this process is similar to a roller coaster ride. Tuesday was definitely a low point for me after reading my WW letter and listening to all her pain, anger, hate, and resentment. Yesterday was much better. I bought her a coffee on my way to work in the morning and left it on the kitchen counter for her while she was still sleeping. Later, she actually called me at work to ask if I can look something up on the internet and asked me some other question. I played a little aloof and just went along. She said, you may have tried calling home earlier, but I was online with work. I replied, actually I didn't. Upon arriving home, I hugged and kissed my kids as usual and said hi to my WW. I also told my kids a few new knock-knock jokes which they got a kick out of. During dinner, she actually initiated some conversation with me. She told me about some of the things the kids did during the day and a project she was involved with at work. This is after she told me Tuesday that I don't give a damn about her work, so why should she tell me about her day? We went out to buy her a dress for her brother's wedding in a couple of weeks and then returned home. I could see she really liked the more expensive dress, so I said, don't worry, just buy it. I put the kids to bed so she could have a chance to exercise on the treadmill. Then we both went to bed. I have stopped saying I love you and will no longer bring up the R unless she initiates. She said she felt controlled and smothered, so I am backing off big time, but still implementing a strong plan A. Today she is bringing the kids with her to have lunch with her girlfriend, so I placed 40 in her wallet this morning just in case she needs the extra cash. I would never have exposed my WW the way I did if it wasn't for your insistence that it was best for the marriage. I was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but in retrospect I don't regret it at all. I can honestly say that exposing my WW has produced results. The results were scary and questionable in the beginning, but it has effectively blasted her EA with a light so powerful, she can no longer keep it secret. Every action she takes now will be questioned, not only by me, but by her work and family. She can still decide to do whatever she wants, but now the consequences are more real. The other added benefit of exposure is that I do not have to conceal my feelings anymore. I no longer have to make excuses, and I can openly talk to my family and in-laws about what has and is happening in our M. Prior to the exposure, it seems I was bearing the load of her EA, now she has to bear it. Even though she still denies the EA, the exposure has forced her to accept the possibility that her actions are wrong and will not be condoned by myself, her family, or her work. My comment: most are terrified of exposure because all they can see is the immediate fallout, which is fury and anger. They can't see beyond their fear of the WS anger, which is a huge impediment. They don't know what happens after the anger blows over. But we see it all the time here, so we know it works. And don't get me wrong, I know it's hard. But so are affairs. Either kick her out, or make her come 100% clean. Part 2 ending coming tomorrow. Sub and bell and see you in the ending.